Leadership Embassy, where we groom legendary leaders. Today, I have something weightier to share with you, something that is deep. Sometimes I like to go deep because it causes you to think and think through again. A lot of people, when it's common, they do not value it. But when we get it a little to the notch of extraordinary, then the little extra that has added to the ordinary causes you to think and causes you to reason and bring you to a place where you will begin to understand more and apply further efforts. Leadership Embassy, designed for leaders or people who want to assume the position as a leader. But I'll put it to you again. Everyone is a leader. Everyone is born a leader. You're a leader in your own paradigm. So if you listen to this program, it will help you to succeed as a leader. I'm continuing on Leaders Web, which I started last week. And I dealt last week with the leader's world. Today, I will deal with leaders' executions. Do not miss this. Call friends and families. Call all leaders that you know. Tune in with your pen and paper and make sure you write the principles or the statements, words or sayings that resonate with your leadership. I'm going for a short break. When I'm back, Leadership Embassy continues. Stay tuned. Welcome back to your screens. Before I deal with what I have for you today, my quotes, as usual. The first one reads, leaders execute exemplary lead. Leaders execute exemplary leads. Number 2, leaders empower proactive leadership. Leaders empower proactive leadership. Number 3, leadership is the craft of rulership. I repeat it again. Leadership is the craft of rulership. Let's expand within the few minutes that I have and also go into what I have for you today. Leaders execute exemplary lead. Simply means that you cannot give to someone as a leader if you don't have an example of it. All right? That's the best way to put it. You cannot cause someone to follow your lead if you cannot be an example of what you expect your followers to achieve. Your life is pages of examples. Now, they should be able to reflect on you. They should be able to give your living as an example to others. So when someone following you wants to give an example, they should be able to use you as a point of reference as a leader. So they will say, for example, Dr. Kukubine will lead us this way and tell us this thing and say it this way. So you become a pillar or a monument of an example. All right. So you lead with examples. In other words, they have a substantial act to refer to. You don't just talk, but you let them see and you let them know that you can do or you have done what you are asking of them. Leaders who folds their sleeves and take off their jacket and get down with the workers are leaders that lead by example. For example, what time as a leader do you get to work? And what time as a leader do you leave work? Are you the first and last so far as work is concerned? I advise you, that is the way it ought to be. Unless time does not permit you, or nature per your leadership role does not permit you. But if you have that luxury of time, then you have to be the first person at your workplace and the last person to leave the workplace. Also, you have to ensure that by the time the week is over, you impact those who follow you with examples that you have learned throughout your days. Leaders do not learn to live. I repeat it again. Leaders do not learn to live, but they live to learn. Remember that. Number 2, leaders empower proactive leadership. Leaders empower proactive leadership. When you are working with people, when you are leading a group of people, proactivity is key. Because they need to be able to get into your mind and they need to be able to initiate things that they know your thinking pattern will approve. I repeat it again. If you are not able to build your team, if you are not able to build your group or a following so that they can go into your mind and know how you understand things, and also know how you approve things, then you are not doing a good job as a leader. If you are not there, they should be able to say, if you were here, this is what you will approve of. All right? When that is achieved, your followers will be proactive. So you empower this that I'm teaching you. Your followers will be proactive. When you are not there, they will be able to move forward with the very things that you would have instructed when you were there. Leaders empower proactive leadership. Thirdly, leadership is the craft of rulership. Leadership is the craft for rulership. You cannot rule unless you know how to lead. You cannot come and shout unless you understand the words in the shout. You cannot lead people unless you rule them. Interesting stuff. But how do you rule? When we talk about rule, we are not talking about a hard taskmaster. We are talking about someone who understands how to execute, how to exhibit rules and regulations for people to practically and prudently live with it. That's a ruler. A ruler does not step on people's ego or on people's will for success. A ruler is not someone who will really fight with someone because the person has made advances more than you have made. In fact, you should be excited and take away that insatiable feeling of you not being the only one that ought to be seen or ought to be known. You should be happy that everyone following you will come and overtake you and do more than you can do. So a ruler does not suppress people, oppress people, depress people, but rather a ruler express people. You like that? Okay, so listen to me carefully. You need to rule with leadership skills, and you need to rule with understanding of rules and regulations. It is key. Let me go into what I have for you today. And I always say to you, if you want more of these codes and you want me to expand further on these codes, follow me on the social media handle Leadership Embassy ORG. All right? We are streaming live now, so you can tell your friends around the world to log in and then also enjoy this great wisdom and impact that will bring a change to your leadership life. Today, I want to deal with something, and I believe that the time will not do justice to me, but I will still touch on it because this program will never stop. I believe it will never stop until the world stops. And I pray you pray like that because we have a lot to share, all right, for your generation and generations ahead of you. Today I'm looking at the leader's verb, and under the leader's verb, last week we touched on the leader's world, where the verb is an acronym for world, executions, and boundaries. So leader's verb is basically leader's world, leader's executions, and leader's boundary. The time I had last week, I quickly ran and focused on the leader's world. And today, I want to focus on leaders' executions. Okay, let me put it to you that leaders has 4 execution structures. That is what leaders have. And I'll be able to take you through all the 4 if time really permits. Leaders have 4 executing structures. Producer says I should go for a break. No, it says I can go on. Yeah, I'm glad with that. Okay, so the first one is this. And I pray that they put it on the screen for you. I made some few notes for you. The 4 execution structures. Producer, can you put it on the screen so the viewers can take note of it? And you can also take your smartphone, snap it, and send it to someone. The first one is executive executions. The second one is expedient execution. The third one is exemplary execution. And the fourth one is extensive execution. I repeat that again. The first one is executive execution. All right. And all those streaming onto Instagram or any part of destination of social media, catch this page on a television so people on the social media can also read it, all right? Take your cameras and catch it on a television, okay? The first one says executive execution. And the second one says that expedient execution. The third one says exemplary execution. And the fourth one says extensive execution. Okay, so let's look at how leaders really execute things. And for the first one, we are looking at executive executions. When we talk about execution, we are talking about how you carry out a plan of action, how you carry out an order, how you carry out a process. All right, that simply means execute. Okay, so how does leaders carry out a plan of action? More importantly, an executive plan of action. Okay, so that is executive execution. How do we do that? The leader needs to execute it in these 3 ways. So we have the pre-action, the process action, and the post-action. This is how a leader carries out an executive execution. You apply these 3 things that I mentioned. Let me slow down and break it down for you. We're dealing with executive execution. For you to carry out an executive execution or an executive plan of action or an executive process, you need to put that plan of action in these 3 forms. First is the pre-action. Second is the process action. And third is the post-action. You probably have heard of pre-process and post before, but you've not heard of pre-action, process action, and post-action. Now, what do I mean by pre-action? When we talk about pre-action, it deals with how you develop a brain power for action. How you develop your brain power or the team's brain power to carry out the action or the course or order of action in front of them. You can carry out an action, put value on the action, bring success to the action if the brain power has really exhibit its powerful thinking thoughts, thinking through thoughts and process for that action. I call that the pre-action. You get into a room with your team and then you look at the action on the table, and then we begin to realize what kind of brain power that we put behind this action. A leader, your brain is your power. Listen to me, leader. Your brain is your power. And how you put your brain into action will cause the ultimate value of your power. That's what I'm looking for. The way you put your brain into action determines the power you will possess. Your brain is your power. Therefore, before you carry out an action, you need to understand the brain power that is needed for carrying out that action. Very important. I call that the pre-action, the brain power moment. As a leader, I repeat it again, your brain is your power. Your brain is your power. The instruction from the brain determines the value of power you will possess. Executive executions are carried out by executive leaders. One day I'll deal with you the different ranks of leaders. I'll deal with you on that. But executive executions are carried out by executive leaders. Very important. Executive leaders are not corporate leaders. Executive leaders are not managerial leaders. Executive leaders are leaders that brings out order of action, roles for responsibilities. These are executive leaders. When they bring out the roles per responsibility, they don't carry it out themselves, but they work more with brain power and go through a process where they put down a responsibility for followers, a course or plan for action, and they've thought through thoroughly, and they understand that when you start to implement this action, they know exactly where you will end. They exhibit superior brain power in the boardroom. They go into a room and they think for the world. And when they bring the rule for the world follows that rule. It's an interesting, these are executive leaders. For those of you who follow Facebook, an executive leader, a gift of a passion, a talent of innovation, and a skill of creativity from an individual went into a room and developed a brain power and put down a rule that the billions of people in the world will adapt to the rule. If you have any adaptation, you will change and adapt to that rule. These are executive thinkers, people who put down stuff and they turn away, and they know, and they know, and they know every Tom and every Harry will follow that instruction, whether you like it or not. Is that not interesting? Is really that not interesting? That's executive executions. So as a leader, if you want to exhibit an executive execution, you are coming into the paradigm where you put down a rule you put down regulations, and everyone is attracted and compelled to follow it. Let me talk about the second one, where you, beg your pardon, I needed to take some sip of water. Where you as a leader, you need to understand that the pre-action, where we develop power for the brain, leads us into the process action. You see, when you are exhibiting a process or when you are executing a process, you have to, every step of the way, refer to the brain power, refer to the thinking thought, refer to the pattern of reasoning. Do not just do it and try to reason on the way. That is why you have pre-action. You took quality time, you spend quality moments, and you put down plans for processes. Very important. I said one day, they thought I would fail. I flew. You remember that? If you don't remember, try and catch the other episodes. You like it. And the final thing I said when I was giving that quote was, I said that when they thought that I will win, I'd already won. Why? Because they were watching my pace, but not my processes. It is important to understand the process for you to be able to execute it well. And the way you execute processes is by continually referring to the pre-action, which is the brain power inscription. What through the brain we have put down. Do not do things anyhow. Do things always with point of references. When you get to a particular place, refer, am I doing it according to the plan? That will bring you a very good process. A very good process. Ladies and gentlemen, I said I'm fired up. I could see I'm heating up, but I have to go for a break. It ain't over yet until the rubber hits the road. Leaders, rejoice, get up, stretch, be happy, because we have found our paradigm and we'll pull down the wisdom, the prudence, the knowledge, the understanding that we need to lead successfully. I'm going for a short breather. I'll be right back. Let this break help you ponder on the very word, statement, or quote that struck your chord. See you shortly after this break.
The faculties of Dr. Open University are offering the following programs in Professional Diploma, Advanced Diploma, Accelerated Degree, and Undergraduate programs. Programs on offer: Sports Media Practice, TV and Radio Presenting, Journalism and Communication Studies, Digital Music Making, PA System and Sound Engineering, Musical Instrument and Vocal Studies, Gaming Development, and IT Software and Hardware. Enroll now for free laptop or tablets. For more information, contact 0202-500-500, 0202-500-500. Dr. Open University, perfecting tomorrow's media today.
welcome back to your screens. And this was a short breather, as I said before. And I'm excited because I'm firing up. Whenever I'm talking to leaders, I super duper love it, because if we don't know how to lead, it's like a body without a head. And remember, what are the great essential elements of human on a head? You have your eye, it's part of a head. Your ears, your nose, and your mouth. All right? And one day I'll take time and talk to you about the senses of leadership. I'm still dealing with executive execution and the leaders' executions. Okay? I think today I'll just deal with that. Though I gave you the 4, we are not rushing, so we take our time and go through it. Today I'll be able to focus on the first one, and if time permits, I will then transit onto the second one. Executive execution. Okay, let me move on so I don't repeat myself that much. And I said that this executive executions comes out with these 3 forms of deploying a plan or an action. All right, so we have the pre-action, and we have the process action, then we have the post-action. If I want to executively execute, then I need to do it in these 3 forms of carrying out an action plan. Before I carry out an action plan, I have to understand pre-action. Okay? I've dealt with that. Before I continue carrying out that plan, I have to deploy process action. I've dealt with that. Now, before I sustain the action I'm carrying out, then I need to fathom post-action. Okay. And this is where I love. A lot of people don't do this. You see, anytime I talk to you and I go home, I do this post-action activity that I'm about to teach you. I look at myself again, and I listen to myself again, and I begin to criticize me word by word. And the reason why I'm doing that is to catch the worm of developed. I like that. So post-action is basically review, your preview, so that you can be in view. And what I'm simply saying is that if you don't review yourself, you will not develop. And when you are reviewing yourself, remember that you're doing that to reform you. And therefore, do not defend, but rather research more for the areas that you know you could have done better. These are post-action. Let's put it into executions. When you are executing or carrying out a plan, listen to me carefully. If I were you, I will take review of my daily activity. If I go home and I could get 10 or 12, 15 minutes to check on me, how I did for the day, you will develop. You will improve. I'm talking to you as a leader, all right? You should religiously set up time for post-action. And so whatever you've done in the day, how you carried out a task, how you executed a plan, go back as a leader in a quiet moment, look at it again. It will interest you to know that you will see so many areas that you could have done better, that you could have improved on, and that you need to improve on and develop. Leaders, and I'm talking to everyone, listen, pre-action, develop a brain power. Put it down. Process action, continually refer to what you've put down as you carry out a process. Post-action, review what you've done always with the mind to reform, to improve, and develop further. And as you practice these things, you are now thriving on the ladder of an executive Okay? Good. I said that executive leaders are those who put down something and they turn around and never look back at it again. And they are more than confident that what they've put down is exactly what you will follow. Is that not interesting? These are leaders who say something and they don't come back to explain. Have you questioned your leadership? Whether you are always explaining the same thing over and over again to your followers, you're not doing well. When you speak and you go back to explain over and over again, your communication is not effective. Your communication is functional, and therefore you need to go back and explain over and over again. An effective communication brings understanding to the low, mid, and high. Understand what I'm sharing with you. So before you say something as an executive leader, you know for sure that whatever you have said, it is what it is. When you turn around from it, you don't look back, and you know for sure, dead on, spot on, your followers will deal with it and follow it to the T. Interesting. I love it. Okay, they're giving me a little bit more time. So let me move on to the second one. If my producer will put back on your television screens the 4 executions of the leader. Let's look at this. 4 leaders' execution structures. The second one is expedient execution. Expedient execution. You know, I'll give you a little bit time for those streaming to Instagram and other social media to pick it up from the screen so people will be able to capture it. Expedient execution. I love this. I love this. Let my listeners and viewers, I'm sure M7 Radio, they came to me that they want to carry out the audio bites of Leadership and Mercy. So from today, I will address it, listeners and viewers. Let my listeners and viewers get ready for my digital audio books and make sure that you use it. Use it. I'm sure they said that after 10 episodes, you will have the content for free. If I'm wrong, my producer will correct you. But you will have the content for free. It's just because that we don't want you to be selfish with the content, but we want you to share it with others around the world. This is good stuff for you as a leader. Expedient execution. The word expedient simply means, and I don't want to quote it from a dictionary, it simply means beneficial. It simply means it's good for you. It simply means, in a hard way, you cannot do without it. Expedient execution. So let me reside on the first one, beneficial. If you deploy an execution as a leader, it ought to be beneficial. Whatever action you take ought to be beneficial. To who? To you as a leader? No. First of all, to the greater good. And once something is beneficial for all your followers, you will not be left out of the equation. So it ought to be beneficial. It ought to be profitable. It ought to be additional. It ought to be empowering. It ought to be encouraging. It ought to be covetous. When you deploy an action, it ought to be compulsory beneficial. When that is what it is, people will follow it. People will love it. Expedient executions. So therefore, whatever you set out to carry out, whatever you set out to carry out, question it. Is this beneficial? A lot of people are looking up to you. Is it beneficial? Is it profitable? Are you hearing me? Bring it into the paradigm of the corporate world, where we are deploying our core operations. As corporate people, we are deploying our core operations according to our tenets. So we will achieve our aims, goals, objectives. Now, when we deploy something, is it only for the benefit of the profit because we are corporate people? So for the benefit of the profit of the medium of exchange, is it only the reason why we deploy our corporate operations? No. You have two great resources that you lead in the corporate world. We have the human resource and we have the natural resource. And any execution that you execute ought to be expedient for these two resources. And any time you execute or carry out a plan of action, the people in that corporate world ought to benefit. And also it has to add value onto the natural resource. Now, you see, that is why you need to listen to this over and over and over and over again and break it down to your understanding so you can apply it. Expedient executions. A smart leader always think for the followers and think for what will benefit them, what will bring profit, addition to them. It's expedient that you get this. In other words, it is important that you embrace this. So when you carry out executions, does it land in the world of importance to your followers? Is it important that they should leave everything and grab onto that? What I'm sharing with you is great stuff. We need to know how to execute stuff. Leaders, executions. We need to know how to carry out stuff. We do. I have two more. If I give all the two to you now, will you watch me next Wednesday? Some are saying, yes, we will. But I won't give it to you because I want you to take your time, write your own notes on executive execution and expedient execution. Remember, I'm dealing with the main topic is leader's verb. And then the subtopics, the acronym of verb is world, executions, and boundaries. And we've dealt last week with world, the leader's world. Today we are dealing with the leader's executions. And the next time, I'll make sure I finish with the two more that comes on leaders' executions before we look at leaders' boundaries. Hey, if this program really resonate with you, then I need you to give me a high five on my social media handles. Make sure you don't give me a 4-hand five. I need a 5-hand five. All right? To encourage me, to push me to a place where I'll keep studying, researching, and bring you more stuff. Expedient execution, beneficial execution, profitable execution, important execution, additional execution, extra effort, extra value executions. If you are carrying out a task, think through these things and make sure you can circle all of them and make it holistic, okay? It is important to do that as a leader. And that is by saying that you put yourself outside first. There should be no selfishness, but you really carry the people on your shoulders. And you probably would think, how do I do that? How can a leader carry these people of the world on my shoulders. You do that simply by understanding that if you give them what will benefit them, you would think you will carry them. You know what happens? They carry you. Leadership Embassy, where we groom legendary leaders. Have 1 more minute to go. And let me share this with you. Today, whilst I was still reading and pondering on what to share with you, I kind of went into a trance, if you please, and something hit me. And I wouldn't say it's a dream because it's very short. I just want to share with you what hit me. I was lying on the bed and I saw a group of people taking a walk. When I saw the group of people taking a walk, first they were all lined up this way. Okay? I would say it horizontally, something like that. And so they were taking a walk, but interestingly, they were walking together with the same pace. So right, left, right, left. Then it switched. And when it switched, they formed a vertical line. And when they form a vertical line, I couldn't see I saw the group first, but now I just saw only one person because the others were behind the first person. I hope you get the picture. So I just saw one person. And I was asking myself, where are the others? And I got this leadership insight for you. What you see does not really determine what is behind it. Write it down. What you see does not really determine what is behind it. What phases you is not really the power that is behind it. The problems that faces you, does not really determine or show you its power that is behind it. Put that there. And therefore, I'll go for a short break. When I come, I'll continue with what I'm sharing with you. Interesting. Stay tuned. Thank you. And let's just deal with this. So I just saw one person in front, others were behind. And those that were behind that first person were more. It means that they can come forward and carry that person and put it away. That's the way it is. The thing that faces you does not describe what is behind it. But as a smart leader, if you look at anything, look beyond it. Think beyond it. Try and understand the muzzle beyond it. And when you do that, you don't fail in visual circles, but you succeed vertically forward. Okay? This is Leadership Embassy, where we groom legendary leaders. I'm excited that I'm able to share with you. Let me leave this with you. For every line that faces you, you have front in line, next in line, mid in line, back in line, side in line. Remember, that is the way you have to always look at everything that faces you. You look at what is in front. You look at what is next behind it. You continue to look what is going on. And then you look at the last thing that could happen, or what could be the alternatives and the options. And if you look at it, you will be successful. Thank you for tuning in to Leadership Embassy. Leadership Embassy, grooming legendary leaders. It's a great time because you're a great guy, you're a great girl, you're a great father, you're a great woman, you're a great child, you're a great person. We have a great God. Thank you for staying tuned. See you next week. And remember, share the word. What is the time? The time is Leadership Embassy, grooming legendary leaders. Your humble leadership expert, Dr. Kukubaini. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Announcements. Leadership Embassy, in short, LE. LE Live. The next live episode of Leadership Embassy is on the 3rd of June 2020 at 3:30 p.m. LE Connect. One-on-one intelligence with Dr. Kukubaini is scheduled to start on May 29th, 2020. Open Room Intelligence. Open Room Intelligence is designed for those who need assistance in intellectual knowledge to advance. To be part of these two programs, register as a member of Leadership Embassy by calling 0594-808-642 for your membership code. LE Fan Base. To be a member of the Leadership Embassy Fan Base, send Add Me with your name and number to 0594-808-642. LE Content. For Leadership Embassy videos, audio, and data content, call 0594-808-642. LE Social. Follow Leadership Embassy on social media at leadershipembassy.org. You just watched Season 1, Episode 8 of Leadership Embassy. Kindly share the content. We'll see you next time.